sin anymore. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Let the one among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. That's how Jesus answered the scribes and the Pharisees who brought the woman who had been caught in adultery. They were really asking, what should we do with her? Every time I hear this gospel passage, there's two questions that come into my mind. The first one, I know we're probably never going to have an answer to. And that's, where is the man that she was with? The second question, though, I think is a far more important question. And it's really the question that I think Jesus was driving at as he spoke to the scribes and the Pharisees. It's a really very intriguing question. I mean, what he said was, let the one among you who is without sin cast the first stone. What I think he's really saying to the woman, to them, about this woman, is that they need to check their own reputations. They need to think about their own lives. They need to think about the things that maybe they haven't done right before they condemn someone else, or anyone else for that matter. Jesus didn't tell them not to follow the law. He didn't say, don't stone her. He knew that that was the law of Moses. No, rather what he said to them was that they could and they probably should follow the law. They should have stoned her. But he pointed out to them that before they judged her, before they condemned her, or anyone else that they meet, they needed to look at themselves first. They needed to consider how they might be judged or seen by some others. They should consider their own reputation before judging and condemning someone who they don't know the story. As I was reflecting on this passage and the questions that came to my mind, it occurred to me that there have been many, many times in my own life when I acted more like the scribes and the Pharisees. Times when I judged without considering the circumstances that may have led someone to take some action or to follow some behavior. I also realized that I was ignoring my own actions and behaviors. I wasn't remembering that I too am a sinner and that I have my own faults. And then it occurred to me that in those times, in those moments, when I would judge someone else, I found no peace. I found no consolation. Ever. What I realized is that if I'm seeking peace and consolation, it'll only happen when I recognize that I am not the judge and jury, that I need to be compassionate and realize that I am no better a person than anyone else I have ever met. I needed to realize that I am just as broken and just as sinful as anyone else. I needed to remember that although my sins may be different, they are still sins, and others can look at me in judgment the same way I look at them. In the end, what I realized is I have no business, no right to be the judge. What I finally realized is that any of us, in our brokenness, in our humanity, need to have an attitude of understanding and acceptance, because I'm convinced that the most peaceful times in any of our lives, and I know in my own life, happen when I remember that human hearts don't need judgment. Human hearts need help. Remember, our God who knows only mercy, forgiveness, and love. And it's when we remember mercy, forgiveness, and love, that mercy, forgiveness, and love that God has shown us freely, the nearer we're able to draw to God. And that is when we will truly experience peace and consolation in our lives. I'm hopeful and prayerful that as we continue this Lenten journey for the next couple of weeks, we can all remember that we need to sometimes come down off the judge's bench and show mercy to one another.